Hi, I'm Rick Anderson, and I'm an American maker. My contact information is rick.rickanderson@gmail.com. So what do I do? Well, I take steampunk technology and I cross it with regular crazy laser cut stuff and 3D printed objects, and I try to create an environment where game technology, virtual world technology can all integrate. So one of my first projects was creating Morse's secret blocks. And the idea is have blocks that are laser cut and have QR codes and basically have embedded electronics in them, and they can actually do things like pulse out Morse code by letter, and they'd be the basic block that you got. But additionally, I have some that actually have near field code or near field, and you can actually scan those, and that actually is encodable. So using that, I actually have a thing that I call the auto telegrapher. And the auto telegrapher is a modular unit that contains a messenger, and this is the Morse's messenger robot, and it actually takes messages and delivers them into the auto telegrapher. And the auto telegrapher is a unit that you bring out onto the table, and you flip over the sides, and with the sides flipped over and open, you actually have the robot able to drive through. When the robot drives through, it has a message, and that message is actually printed in the 3D printer over here. So we've got some really interesting technology. It's technology that holds technology and technology inside. So further advances in this sort of technology is having my Morse's ether reader, and the ether reader has the ability of reading tweets from the web and delivering the tweets to the robot. So when those two things are consumed from one another, they deliver that. So what it does is, instead of having somebody be the person pulsing and typing out that, you no longer need a person. You now have a robot system that will take your tweets, turn them into Morse code messages, print them out, deliver them. And so this is kind of a good idea of like how I cross like 2D and 3D printed objects and control systems together. The other thing that I do is I take 3D printed objects and spaces and use those in order to create like custom game controllers. So with the game controller, I can spin and turn the knobs, and I actually hook this to a video game, and it actually allows you to create a custom environment, and we did like a base defender using that. But what I do is like you go from that sort of semi-finished product to prototyping, and so we prototype using Arduino technology, but also the ChipKit technology, which is like a 32-bit Arduino. And this is basically a joystick and game controller breadboarded. And we use the laser cut boards and everything, and we put that together in order to interface that with the computer. So we do a lot of that computer interfacing. And the trick is to make some of this stuff easier. So I want to make it possible for things to be easier and more affordable. So in terms of my block technology, there's a gap in here that allows you to put electronics. And this is also the near field code that is sensed electronically. So you can label each of your projects. So if I have an alphabet, I can program each alphabet block separately from one another. Then in terms of how we make these small things or small spaces do stuff is that we kind of need some electronics to do it. So what I do is I start with prototyping little tiny projects. So this is basically a prototype of a mini Arduino inspired device, and it's basically a servo controller inside of the Arduino. And then I have developed that project and took it from just being like, hey, I etched this out and I put this in the system using ACID and all that to create the control. I actually worked with a friend of mine, and we did open source hardware, and we basically created the $5 mini ATtiny servo controller. And the beauty of that is that, given the box technology that I have, these things will slip right in. So once this technology is in here, now I can actually put servos in, and I can take those servos and actually have them control my, control the box, do open and close, and basically use, tap, knock, 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 secret messages, and we have those kinds of capability. And then what I was looking for was the ability to have more power and more energy, so I created what I call the Fubarino board. So again, friends of mine, we did open source hardware, and we created an open source 32-bit Arduino form factor that fits on a breadboard. So what this does is it not only fits on a breadboard for prototyping, it's small enough to fit into these, custom robot environments. And with the custom robot environment, you can now have really complex behaviors created in those small spaces. And this is part of the ChipKit project, which I'm like the build master for the multi-platform IDE. And it's been a set of really just wonderful and great projects. Um, and we're doing open hardware. We're using laser cutters, and the control systems that I have put together create this really great mashup of steampunk technology, which every year at the next event like Maker Faire and Steampunk Fair, basically enhance that technology to take crazy ideas like, well, automated telegraphs. Well, why would you need that? Well, that technology is actually really useful, so it's a good thing to learn with, and it's also just incredibly fun. So I'm looking for fun, and I'm looking for creating objects that move and draw bots and Morse code pens that write things out, and looking to take my projects from being sort of the small boxy type thing to bigger and better and way more interactive. So yeah, that's me. I do all of those things. So I'm Rick Anderson. I'm an American maker.